I'm Nolan, your host, and today we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about this. 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 And we're going to be talking about this. First of all, I got addicted to Kratom quite a few years ago. And I was addicted to it for 3 or 4 years. Used it here, used it there, used it everywhere. And after I got off of it, I started to realize that there isn't a whole lot of support for people out there that are trying to come off of it. This is where this channel begins its journey. So you're going to hear a lot of purring in the background. There's nothing I can do about that. It's just the way it's going to be. If you're in the midst of withdrawals, or you are watching this video to try and gain some peace of mind about what you're going through, you came to the right place. It's not easy. Especially if you've been using for a couple of years and you've been a heavier user, it's definitely not easy. When I was going through it, I remember I had a few things happening to me. I felt like I was being broken up with by imaginary ex-girlfriends over and over again. I felt lonely. I was sweating a lot. Sleep, never heard of her. I had hot flashes. I felt like I didn't want to do anything. And there was such a large part of my willpower every single day that was just dedicated to saying, no, I'm not going to go and pick up more Kratom. Why would I do that? Stop it. And you feel like you're wrestling for control over your brain. One of the reasons it can be tough to come off of Kratom is not just because the withdrawals can be a little bit gnarly, but it's also because this is a very divided community, Kratom users. Many have used it for years and have never experienced any withdrawal symptoms. Some have used it for weeks and go on to experience withdrawal symptoms. And if you are one of the people who are quitting and you are curious and you decide to do your research and you say, hey, what are all these people experiencing? And you're met with forums or people online talking about how there shouldn't be any withdrawals. What are you talking about? You're in too deep. You should have been monitoring your usage. It can feel alienating. And all I remember wanting while I was going through those withdrawals and trying to quit was wanting a hug. I just wanted a freaking hug because it's tough. It's a tough one. And he's going to jump down. And luckily, he didn't get any of my cables. This video is going to be about why we quit. Why would we want to quit in the first place? Kratom is pretty great. It makes you feel good. It's not, strictly speaking, an opioid. It's relatively safe, If you're experiencing pain, it helps with pain. There are many people out there that say, hey, this is the only thing that I can really find that works for me, and I can buy it pretty much anywhere. I mean, save for, Singapore, you wouldn't be caught dead chewing gum over there. So I think the question of why you quit becomes more prevalent and more common years into your use. When you first start using it, Kratom is cute. There's really no other way to put it. It's just cute. It's great. It makes you feel good. It puts this warm glow around everything, and it makes you feel like everything is right with the world. And then a year or two in, if you can't control your usage and your dosages have gotten out of hand, then it becomes a bit trickier because you're having trouble regulating your doses. You have to take more to feel what you were initially feeling when you started using it. And a year or two later, you're dependent on it. So if you do decide to come off of it, it's not going to be without paying the piper. Paying the piper is an expression that you hear a lot in addiction recovery communities, and it essentially means you've been getting a lot of good out of this thing, but there's a catch. So the catch when you come off of Kratom are the withdrawals. And I think that no one would have a problem with quitting if there weren't any withdrawals. As good as Kratom is for us in the beginning, and as much as it helps our various aches and pains and our psychological ailments, we end up a little bit too far down the road. 2 or 3 years into my usage, and after having read the stories of a bunch of other people, which I compiled, I ended up noticing a few patterns. Number one is I started hiding things. I started having to hide the powder that I was using. I was hiding it from friends, family, loved ones. I couldn't really go out on dates or feel that I could be my normal and competent self until I had absolutely chugged this disgusting, very bitter, nasty drink that made me feel happy and good. And for the initial period of your usage, you might be saying, well, this is a good thing. I'm not usually a sociable person, and Kratom allows me to socialize. It reduces my social anxiety and increases my productivity. The further into it you get, the more you realize that you're using it as this crutch that is preventing you from living any part of your life truly and fully without Kratom in it. And I can't necessarily say that that's the healthiest thing. Another reason we quit. I have always been a fan of poop jokes, but there was no joking around with the poops that we had while we were using. I'm sorry for anyone that has experience with this, you know what I'm talking about. It is waking up in the morning and realizing you got a boulder in there that you got to get out, and it's not exciting. It's supposed to be, the act of defecating is supposed to be wholesome, warm, vibrant, cathartic activity. And for me, Kratom turned it into the moment that I would try to prolong, and I didn't like that at all. So another reason for quitting is sleep. If you get far enough into ye old Kratom train, then you'll notice that if you take a dose a night, your body may or may not wake you up in withdrawals before you get your full night's sleep. Now, from personal experience, I can tell you that this absolutely sucks. So the purpose of this channel is to talk about my experience with quitting. And I remember when I quit a year or two ago, I remember feeling like there wasn't a ton of support out there. When I quit a couple of years ago, it was right after I'd been laid off from my job, and it was a really tough period of life. We all go through those, and I remember thinking, wow, this really sucks. It was probably about a year after that, after I'd quit and I was through the worst of it, that I went, wow, life really can get better. And when you're going through withdrawals and you've been using Kratom for so many years, it's almost can feel like there is no end to the tunnel. So one of the reasons I wanted to start this channel is to just tell people it can get better, and it can get better if you stay off of it and you don't need it in your life. And it was recently that I was like, hey, why not put it all together? So I'll be referencing this, which I put together. But thank you for joining me. I have been Nolan, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.